So the first question is, I think that all of the medications work. So, I mean, they all reliably induce a drug effect that can be experienced as therapeutic. I mean, the SSRIs, they mute anxiety. And don't get me wrong, if you're severely anxious, you'll experience that as therapeutic or sometimes even life-saving. And so all of the drugs work. The issue is that, I mean, they're drugs. They don't get to the underlying problem. The effects gradually wear off over time. You need higher and higher doses. And for some people who are on them for several years, I mean, the brain is simply not designed to be in a drug state that long, and they become toxic and they make people worse.
Do you think some of this is that we're all just kind of taught, and again, this kind of gets the social media thing, that we're just supposed to be happy? Jordan Peterson often talks about how you should chase what is meaningful, and then maybe you will become happy in the process rather than chasing happiness, because then you likely will not find anything meaningful. That basically our aim is off as to what we're going for, and that then leads to all of these idiosyncrasies.
Yeah, I think that's a really wise perspective, Dave. And if you study Buddhism, I think one of the central tenets is, life is suffering, because there's something just innate about being alive where sooner or later every single person will have to encounter hardship, and that's just part of life. Now we have a bit of an issue right now, and part of this is because of social media, actually, that people interpret difficulties as being mental illnesses now. They don't look at it as, hey, this is a temporary thing that I'm going through. I'm a teenager and I don't know what I want to do. I don't know who my friends are and what I want to be. We have, with our medicalization of the human condition, many people, they just go, yuck, what is this? What is happening? And they look online and this celebrity's taking this drug and this one's on that one. And they say, well, I guess, clearly there's something wrong with my brain, when it's like, no, that's absolutely normal what you're going through. And one of the saddest things is we've had like a full frontal attack on teachers and parents by essentially the pharmaceutical industry working through fake astroturfed patient organizations which represent drug interests, saying, we need to raise awareness about mental health care problems. This is an epidemic. We need teachers to know. Many teachers and parents don't feel like they're equipped to comfort and guide and shepherd young people through difficulties now. Whenever something comes up, they say, go and see a professional. Whereas in the past, teachers and parents saw this as normal stuff. And they would just reassure the kids and they would help them get through it. But now we just medicalize a lot of things. It's very sad.
Right. Well, we've probably medicalized and drugged the generation of teachers that's supposed to be doing that in the first place. And then you just get the secondary effect with the kids. Are there some drugs that you have found that actually really do work in most cases, that if someone says to you, I'm on, maybe you're less inclined to move them off of? As you just said, you're not a no medication person. And then some that when you hear someone's on it, you go, boy, we've really got a long journey here.
So the first question is, I think that all of the medications work. So, I mean, they all reliably induce a drug effect that can be experienced as therapeutic. I mean, the SSRIs, they mute anxiety. And don't get me wrong, if you're severely anxious, you'll experience that as therapeutic or sometimes even life-saving. And so all of the drugs work. The issue is that, I mean, they're drugs. They don't get to the underlying problem. The effects gradually wear off over time. You need higher and higher doses. And for some people who are on them for several years, I mean, the brain is simply not designed to be in a drug state that long, and they become toxic and they make people worse. And so when the drugs are used, they're effective in the short term, but they must be used in conjunction with non-drug approaches to either get them off the medications completely or on the lowest dose possible. And so, I mean, that's how I look at it. I think I have a very pragmatic perspective. But the other thing that you said, are there any times where someone says I'm on this drug that inside I get a pit in my stomach and I start getting worried? That would be like any benzodiazepine or sedative. So Xanax, Klonopin, Valium, Ambien, Sonata. that kind of stuff long term, it ends up making people very anxious. It ends up disrupting sleep, and they can be very challenging to come off. They tend to be the ones that cause the most problems.
What do you make of the laundry list of side effects of most of these things? I don't have cable TV anymore, so I don't get to see these commercials anymore. But, back in the day, just any one of these commercials, somebody has got a cartoon, cloud following them. They say, okay, take Celexa or Alexa or whatever it is. Suddenly they feel better. But then the next commercial is like, all right, if you're on that, then this other cloud's following. You got to take this. And then you're going to have diarrhea and vomiting and restless leg syndrome. And it's like, well, now I'm depressed because I have real problems. The fact that there are so many side effects associated with so many of these things, to me, that's a bit of a warning.
Yeah. I mean, it's particularly the behavioral ones. I mean, you may hear may cause, suicidal behavior.
Thoughts of suicide. Yeah.
Gambling problems. And, I mean, there's all sorts of crazy stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, these are potent neurological drugs. Our brain controls our whole body. We shouldn't be surprised that when we start tinkering with the chemistry, we gain a lot of weight, we develop diabetes, our cholesterol goes crazy, and that a small proportion of people who are very sensitive to the drug may become disinhibited, they may become suicidal, or sometimes even violent. And that's what we're looking at right now with the whole Nick Reiner story. Right before he killed his two parents, there were sources that told news outlets that they were having a lot of difficulties with his medications. And what we know about antipsychotic medications that were given to him is that they can cause severe restlessness, known as akathisia, and in some individuals, that state of mind will make them homicidal. And so these are things that happen to people when you take these potent psychiatric drugs.
What do you make of sort of the herbal or natural, I suppose, side of some of this? We eat ashwagandha, things of that nature to either wean off some of this stuff or to just be on if you're just feeling just kind of a generalized state of anxiety, let's say.
I take a skeptical approach. I mean, when we talk about supplements, I usually throw them into two camps. I mean, you can, some people take like vitamin D or magnesium or zinc and things like that. And it's usually to bring your levels up into a normal range, especially if you have a bad diet and you're malnourished. So that's like the kind of repleting and replacing use of supplementation. But there's this whole other space, and I call it the nutraceutical space, where if you take enough of a plant compound or even some minerals, you can induce for real drug effects. And just because they're not coming through a pharmaceutical company doesn't mean these aren't potent drug effects. I mean, ashwagandha, they say, it's an adaptogen, it's something that's going to help your body adapt to stress. No, this is a neurological drug that has a drug effect that is calming, and people enjoy that. But listen, usually there is not a free lunch. You become dependent on them. You have a little bit of withdrawal when you come off. Generally, they're much safer than hardcore pharmaceuticals that have been specifically engineered to nail those receptors in your brain and make changes. But I mean, I've also seen a lot of people who have problems with ashwagandha and lion's mane and all of that. And so I would just look at them as just over-the-counter drugs that you can get, but they are drugs.
For more insightful conversations on how to live the good life, go to our lifestyle playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a wide variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.